Hi guys, so this video is going to be a little bit different than the types of videos that I normally do. I'm usually not really that personal on my Instagram, but I feel like a lot of times everyone shows like the ups of entrepreneurship and no one really talks about the struggles or the downfalls while they're in it. Everyone talks about it after they've come out of it. So I kind of wanted to document this journey in my life because it's actually been really tough. For those of you who don't know, my name is Poca. I'm a makeup artist, lash tech. I've done hair in the past. Pretty much, I'm in the beauty industry. In March of this year, I had lovely twins. I had boy-girl twins, and their names are Legend and Legacy. So their birthday was March 30th. And I pretty much, as you guys can see from the title, want to talk about how, from my pregnancy and having my kids, how I pretty much, just being honest, lost everything. Like everything I had, everything I built. And it took me a lot to get to this point to even talk about it because it was just so hard dealing with, because that's something I've never dealt with before. And I feel like mixing that with postpartum, it was just a lot of stress, a lot. So I'm going to start from the beginning. So I do lashes and makeup. So pretty much I built my own business starting in, I'll say full time, starting in 2015. So pretty much I built my own business from nothing. Just hard work and as you guys can see, I can't really get anything done because I always have something to do. So Legend is crying. So I'm gonna figure this out and then I will finish telling you guys my little story. He is struggling because he turned over in his sleep. He was asleep on his back, so he started crying because he's struggling. And somebody else pooped. Yeah, I think it was you. You look like it was you. You look guilty. You look guilty. So I will get this handle and then I'll come back with my story time. Okay guys, so I'm back. But long story short, I just wanted to document this journey just to show you guys that we all have our ups and downs in life. And sometimes social media can come across as everything is perfect in someone's life. And you never know what someone is going through or what someone has gone through. So I just wanted to share this part of my life with you guys and be a little bit more open on social media. And you never know, someone might be going through the same thing or has went through the same thing. And so this is just an opportunity to share with one another and, talk about these type of things. So I guess I can kind of start from the beginning. So 2017, I kind of was going through like a really bad breakup. I'd already broken up with the person, but it was really tough for me to get over them. So I really wasn't interested in dating. I hadn't dated all of 2017. Maybe talked to somebody here and there, but nothing serious. So I remember I met my kid's dad. I would say it was like early 2018. Fast forward, long story short, everything wasn't perfect, but I did care about him. I did think that we had potential. But we got into a big disagreement and we broke up for about a month. And after that month, we started back talking. We didn't like make things official immediately, but we were supposed to be working on things, figuring things out. And so pretty much we started back talking. I found out I was pregnant in August. So when I found out I was pregnant, I wasn't really sure how I felt about it. I wasn't really ready to be a mom, but he promised me that we would figure things out, and he wanted to keep our child, which we thought one at the time. He wanted to keep our child. He didn't want to think about any other options, and he pretty much asked me to, follow through with this and have our child. So I loved him and I thought maybe we could make things work. And so really what solidified things is I found out I was having twins. So I thought I was having one. And so I went to the doctor. I was having an ultrasound, and the lady was like, "Yeah, both babies are fine." And I'm like, "Girl, who?" And she was like, "Yeah, both babies are fine." So I'm like, "Oh my God." And the crazy thing about it is we had thought of names. So we were going back and forth, like, should we name our child? We didn't know if it was a boy or a girl, but we were like, should we name them Legend or Legacy? And we pretty much thought it, I don't know why, but we thought it was going to be a boy. So we were like, oh, we could do Legend or Legacy. That'll work for either one. And then I kept saying, dang, I wish I could have both names. Watch what you say, because I swear the universe hears everything that you say. So I was like, dang, I wish I could have both names. And he was like, yeah. And then while I was pregnant, I was like super sick. I'm not talking about normal sick. I'm talking about I felt dead. Like at one point, I remember I was doing somebody's makeup at work, and I felt like I was going to pass out. I had to stop. I barely made it through the end. I had to stop, go outside, take a break. Then right when I finished, I was in the bathroom throwing up. It was just a lot. I was really, really sick, like extremely sick. So I knew something was wrong. So he kept saying, "You probably having twins." And at one point, my mom had said that. She was like, she was laughing. She thought it was so funny. She was like, "What if you're having twins?" And this is before anybody knew. So I found out I was having twins. And then that's what kind of like solidified everything. I was like, oh, twins are a blessing. I'm going to just go ahead and have my babies no matter what. Even though I felt that it may not have been the best time. I was planning on having a hot girl summer. We weren't necessarily back together, so I had planned on just doing my own thing. But that kind of turned everything around. So I decided to go through everything. And so during my pregnancy, he was really, 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 really distant. And so I just know him, and so I knew something was up or whatever. So I would ask him, he would say nothing, he wouldn't really come over that much. And he had like transportation issues, like his car was messed up or something. So he would blame it on that, but I just knew like nothing's gonna stop you from spending time with me or coming over like you normally do. So I just knew something was up. So long story short, not to get too much into detail, but I found out about October or November that he was back talking to his son's mom. I hate the term baby mama, baby daddy, all that. So I use kids dad, kids mom. I use that term a lot. But anyways, so I found out he was back talking to her, whatever. So I was like completely devastated. I'm like, I'm pregnant, I'm having twins. And then on top of that, he wasn't really helping me. And I'm really not used to him being like that, because the whole time that we dated, he would, not saying that money's everything, but he would like pay for everything pretty much. I would pay for some stuff, but money was never like an issue. So to be pregnant and not have him helping me, I was like, okay, this is different. So I knew something was up with that. And then once I found out he was back talking to his son's mom, I was just like, oh my God. So of course he hit me with the like sob story of like, oh, I love both of y'all, and I wish I could be with both of y'all. And I'm like, whatever. So it was just a lot to deal with being pregnant. So during that time, like I was so sick. I really couldn't work. I remember the last class that I had, I was so sick. Like I felt I was gonna pass out the entire class. So I couldn't really have classes anymore. I was just really, really, really sick. And then on top of that, he's not helping me financially at all. I'm talking about whole time I'm pregnant, I think he maybe gave me $100 whole time I was pregnant. So, he's steady telling me while I'm pregnant that like, okay, once the babies get here, we'll figure things out. It'll get better, blah, 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 blah. So in about, I think it was February. Yeah, it was February. I felt like I had lost my mucus plug. So I called my doctor, and she kind of told me that it wasn't a big deal. A lot of people think that, and it's something else, and it's nothing to worry about, but just come in anyway, just to get kind of like a little checkup or whatever. So I go in, and she's like, while she's checking me out, she's like, yeah, nothing's wrong. This happens a lot. People think something is wrong, and it's really nothing. So while she's checking me out, she's like, oh my gosh, you're dilated. So she's like, but I still don't think you're dilated that much. I don't think it's a big deal. So then another doctor came in, and he kind of checked me out, and he was like, oh, you're 2 centimeters dilated. So and my like, I went to like a what's it called, like a special pregnancy place. I forgot what it's called, but I had to go there, and like the OBGYN still. So I had to go to both. So I was in like the special high risk pregnancy clinic at the time. So he's like, yeah, you need to go to the hospital. And he was like, immediately. So he was like, I literally had just finished doing somebody's makeup, and I literally left everything open, everything out, because I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna run up here and come right back. And okay, sorry guys, my phone rang. But so yeah, he's like, you gotta be rolled over there immediately. He's like, you can't even walk. You need to be in a wheelchair, and someone needs to like roll you over there. So I'm like, okay, whatever. But he's like, yeah, you'll probably be there for like 24 hours. So I'm still thinking like, it's an inconvenience, but it's not a big deal. So I get to the hospital, and the high risk pregnancy place was like connected to the hospital. So I just had to get rolled over there. But so I get in the hospital, and they're doing like checkups and stuff. And so that night, one of the nurses was like, oh, did they tell you everything? Like, did you get your bag and stuff? And I'm like, bag? I was like, oh, it's just a day. I'm going home tomorrow. And she was like, oh, sweetie, like, I'm sorry to be the one to tell you, but she was like, you're not going home until you have these babies. And I'm like, oh my God. I think I was 20, how many weeks pregnant was I? I think I was like 26 weeks pregnant, something like that. So I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? So I called my kid's dad or whatever. He was up there with me. So I was in the hospital for 2 months straight. I couldn't leave. I remember one time I just tried to, one of my friends had told me, she's like, oh yeah, just try and get like a wheelchair ride, just so you can get like a different scene of view, or a different view or whatever, just to like make yourself feel better. So I asked, I'm like, oh, can I have a wheelchair ride? My doctor was like, no wheelchair ride, no nothing. So I pretty much was on bed rest the entire time until I had my babies. So I remember one time I was just sitting in the chair because I got tired of just being in the bed, and the doctor came in, and he was like, oh no, what are you doing? He was like, you can't sit, you need to be laying down. Unless you're using the bathroom, you need to be laying down at all times. So I was in the hospital for 2 months. Long story short, so I got so behind on everything because I was not expecting to not really be able to work my entire pregnancy. And then on top of that, I was expecting to like have his help while I couldn't work. No help at all. So I'm like steady having all these bills and no income. Nothing's really coming in because everything that I do kind of relies on me, whether it's services or teaching classes. So everything's on me, and I'm talking about, I was living a single life. So my rent was $2,000. I'm living in Buckhead. I'm driving a Benz. I had got my car. Everything was like cool because I'm living like a single life, and I'm doing very well in my business. So I thought. So I didn't have any help from him throughout my entire pregnancy. Granted, I got pregnant in August. I went in the hospital in February. And then I have my kids March 30th. But the whole time I was in the hospital, he kept telling me like I'm working because I had decided that I was going to move into a cheaper apartment because I have kids now. So I'm like, oh, let me try and move somewhere more affordable now. I had lived in my apartment for like almost 2 years. So I'm like, okay, let me move somewhere affordable that can help me save money. I'm about to have 2 kids. So I couldn't work, of course. So whole time he's not really visiting me in the hospital while I was in the hospital. But whole time he's like, oh, I'm working, I'm saving money, I'm doing this, I'm doing what I gotta do so that you have a place to stay when you leave the hospital. So I'm like, okay, cool. I wasn't really bugging him. I'm like, you working? That's cool. He would come up there here and there, but it would be for like a little second and then he would bounce. But I'm thinking he's working, like, and he has like a moving company. So I'm like, cool. That takes a lot of like time and stuff. So I'm like, cool, it's no problem. I'm thinking he's working. So I ended up having an emergency C-section. And so I called him. He came up there. He missed the actual birth because he didn't hear his phone ring. But he came like right after. He got there like right after I had the babies. But it was emergency C-section, so I wasn't really tripping. Um, so we had the babies, and I'm like, okay, so how much money we got saved? And I kept asking this before because I'm like, oh, because if there's something that I need to figure out, I need to know now so I can make some moves, make some plans. He was like, no, we're straight. I'm just stacking money, like, so that when we have the babies, we could just boom, have a place, and I'm gonna have the place ready, everything. So I'm like, cool. I was trusting him. So when we had that emergency C-section, I'm like, oh, like, and granted, the emergency C-section was only 2 weeks before I had a planned C-section. So my planned C-section was at 36 weeks, and I had them at 34 weeks. So I'm like, okay, how much money you have saved up? He was like, looking at me like I'm just asking this bizarre question. Like, I'm talking about looking at me like I'm speaking another language. Like, what? Like, I'm bugging him or something. So I'm like, how much money do we have saved up? He was like, nothing. Y'all, I about lost it. I'm like, nothing. What do you mean, nothing? He was like, nothing. So I'm like, look, I don't have time to deal with this. So it was just a lot going on. I was really, really, really emotional after I had my kids. And I asked a lot of people, and they said that was normal, especially the nurses. I would just cry all the time. Like, I'm talking about boohoo crying, like snot crying. I'm talking about, so I didn't have a place to go because I'm like, oh my God, I don't even have a place for me and my kids to go. And I just had 2 babies. And my kids were in the NICU, but I'm still like, nothing is ready. I didn't have time to get anything prepared. I didn't have a baby shower. I literally had nothing. So he's like, yeah, I don't have anything, blah, blah, blah. Um, what happened after that? Oh, yeah, so I'm trying to make a plan B. I'm like, oh, I might have to go back to Florida because I don't have a big family, but my mom and my dad they do live in Florida. So I was like, man, I'm gonna have to go back home. And that's the last thing I wanted to do. I felt like I had lost everything. Like, I built my entire career from nothing in Atlanta. And now all of a sudden I got 2 babies and nowhere to go. So, um, yeah, so I'm like, oh, I'm going back to Florida. I have to. I have no choice. And so that was like the worst feeling. I remember the lady, one of the nurses, she was like, she had a form or whatever, and she's like, what's your address? And I just burst into tears because I'm like, bitch, I don't even have an address. Like, so she's like, oh my God, it's okay. Like, trying to console me or whatever. But so I tell him, I'm like, look, I'm going back to Florida because I don't have nowhere to stay here. You said you were saving money. You weren't saving money. So he's like, yeah, I understand you got to do what you got to do. But then he's like, you know, I don't really want to be away from my kids and don't go, blah, blah, blah. So then he gives me an option of, he's like, look, he called me and was like, oh, I got it figured out. So I'm like thinking, okay, you done stepped up or whatever. You got everything figured out. He's like, yeah, so, my sister has a room and so you could stay there with her. And he's saying you, like not even like we, he's like you. So I'm like, no, that's not an option. That is not an option for me. If I'm gonna have to live with somebody, and I've lived on my own forever, like forever, so I'm like, if I have to live somewhere else, I'm gonna at least be in my own comfort, and I'm gonna go home and live with my mom or my family and be by my family. I'm not gonna move in with your sister. And I appreciate her saying that was okay, but I think his sister is like, he has 3 sisters and they're all like similar in age, so I know how that feels. I'm like, I wouldn't want somebody moving in with me with 2 newborn babies and I'm 25, 26 living my life, you know. That's just not an environment to have a baby in. So I'm like, no, I'm gonna move back home. So he's like, no, whatever, you're tripping. Like, nothing is ever good enough for you. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, that's not good enough for me because that's not what we had planned. If you weren't going to be saving money and have a place for me and my kids to go, then I would have made arrangement while I was in the hospital, not relying on you. And these are your kids, so you don't have a place for your own kids to go. Not even just me. I would have just figured something out on my own. So, long story short, I say long story short a lot, but I'm trying not to make this video super, super long. But I ended up being on my own for a while. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Ronald House, but it's like for if your kids are sick or whatever. So I ended up, it was a process, but I ended up being able to stay there while my kids were in the NICU, and that gave me the time that I needed to figure out where I was gonna stay. So my kids were in the NICU for 3 weeks, so I was able to stay there. And then on top of that, I was in the hospital. I'm thinking, okay, after I have my babies, I can go. I was in the hospital for another week and a half because they would not let me leave because my blood pressure was so sky high. I'm talking about one day I had planned, they were like, yeah, you could be discharged tonight, you need to get all your stuff together, it's time to go. At the end of the night, they have to take your blood pressure right before you leave, so they take my blood pressure, and the lady's like, no, you got to stay another night. And at this point, I am over it. Like, I'm ready to get the fuck ASAP out of there, okay? So I was so pissed that I had to stay. So I stayed there for like another week and a half, and then I was in the Ronald House for 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, something like that. So it was really nice though. It's like a new building or whatever, and it's really, really, really nice, and they're really accommodating. Excuse me. You don't have to worry about anything like food and stuff like that. So that was very, very helpful. So I'm really thankful for having that. And then that gave me the time to figure out, was I gonna go home? Was I gonna figure out a place to live in Atlanta? But during that time, I had just had the babies, and then the babies came home with me. So they were with me at the Ronald House for like 1 week, and that was so hard. I was like devastated. I was by myself. I had 2 newborns, 2 newborn babies. I didn't have any like physical help, no help. I was by myself with 2 newborn babies, just had a C-section on top of that. So I'm devastated. I'm like, what has happened to my life? Like, I felt like just like I was at the lowest point of my life, and then at that I'm trying to recover. I had a C-section, and I can't even really properly heal because I have to take care of my kids. So me and him had, oh, I forgot about this. Me and him had a disagreement or whatever. So I'm thinking he's not talking to me. He hadn't talked to me for like a whole day. So I'm thinking, okay, he mad about that. So I end up finding out this nigga's in jail. I'm like, bro, come on. So this is a week after. This is a week after the kids was born. So this is before I even go to the Ronald house. Yeah. So I found out this nigga's in jail. So I'm really by myself. This is not even like a we're not getting along. You're not helping. This is like you can't even help because you're not even there. But he went to jail on some like real irresponsible foolishness. So I didn't even feel bad. I'm just like, you're not taking care of what you need to take care of. So you're not thinking about your kids. You're not thinking about me. You're just doing whatever and letting things happen to you. And I'm a real big believer of like, some things are preventable. Like, you can't just push all your problems to the back and think that they're all gonna get figured out or whatever. Like, certain things, if you know you're supposed to be doing something, you need to do them to prevent something worse from happening. Granted, we all have random problems and stuff that happen, but I feel like the stuff that he be going through, like, this stuff is preventable. Like, sir, get your life together. Like, you have no excuse, and you really have no excuse because you ain't helping me. So I don't know what the excuse is. Like, so yeah, so he was in jail. He ended up being in jail for a whole entire month. And this is like the hardest time of a newborn. Like, I was doing everything by myself. By myself. Nobody. By myself. So, and then my mom and stuff, they had helped me. I have went ahead and moved back into like these old apartments that I used to stay at, and they're nice or whatever, but you know, I had got used to living where I was living, so I'm irritated with that. And then I had like a 2-bedroom and an office, so now I'm in a 1-bedroom because I'm like, look, I gotta thug it out until I can stack up and get the fuck ASAP up out of here. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just get a 1-bedroom. It's just gonna be me and my kids. They're gonna be in the room in the bassinet next to me. Anyways, it's not a big deal. So let me just come here. My mom really, really, really helped me. I'm so thankful. She helped me, but I know it was a lot of stress on her because this kind of like came out of nowhere. Like, I've always taken care of myself, like always. So this was just a really, really difficult position to be in, to like need so much help. And I will never ever forget all the people that reached out to me, not even knowing what I was going through, but people reaching out to me, making sure that I had things for my kids, making sure I was okay, giving me things. I was just so thankful that I had help. I even had help from strangers. Like, one girl on Instagram, I forgot her name, but she like literally sent me baby clothes, like preemie baby clothes. And so these are people, strangers that I don't even know, helping me more than my kid's father is helping me. So yeah, pretty much I lost everything. So now I feel like my kids are 6 months now, and it's just been a struggle just to even kind of like maintain everything and kind of get back on my feet, because I feel like I really, really dealt with postpartum really bad. Like, during my pregnancy, I probably gained like 80 pounds, and I've probably lost like 25 pounds of that. So I don't even feel like myself. And people are like, oh, you look so good. You just had twins. You look good, blah, blah, blah. But when you don't feel like yourself, you just don't feel like yourself. And I really feel like he wasn't there for me at all. Like, after I had my kids, like, oh, and then I didn't even tell y'all. So he decides he wants to be in a relationship with his kid's mom. So pretty much I am a single mom. I don't have his help at all. I literally would have to like beg him to help. And it would be so irritating because it's like, I know he loves his kids, but if you love your kids, why do I have to beg you to help? It don't even have nothing to do with me and you at this point. At this point, take care of your kids. And, you know, of course, I always get the sob story of I'm trying to figure things out. You know, I love you, blah, blah, blah. And I always love you, this and that. But it's like, I'm not trying to hear none of that. That's all dead to me. You're not even physically helping with our kids. I feel like you got to do one or the other. If you're not going to be financially helping with the kids, you need to be physically helping, because I can't go to work because I have to take care of our kids. So either you need to be a helping hand. If you're not making no money, it was times where I'm just like, you stay home with the kids. I will go to work. Like, I'll go to work, you watch the kids. He would not work. He would not want to watch the kids. He would be like, oh, I'm trying to work. He wanted to work on his business. I'm like, clearly your business is not working. It's not bringing in no money. It's not working. If you can't help me out with financially, it's not working. You're not making any money. Let me go to work and make some money so that our kids can be taken care of. I'm talking about, it was a struggle. Couldn't get him to watch the kids at all. At the beginning, he would watch them here and there, but then it got to the point where he wasn't watching them at all. Then it got to the point where I'm figuring stuff out. So I did end up getting some help. My aunt's friend, and I actually consider her like an aunt to me, she ended up coming to help me, and I was just paying her each week to help me. And so that became the helping hand that I needed. So it got to a point where he's not even visiting the kids. Like, I'm like, come on, bro. Like, talk about being like a deadbeat. And I hate using that word. Well, I didn't hate using it with him because I got a little fly mouth. So I'm like, bruh, talk about being a deadbeat. Like, you're not seeing your kids. You're not financially providing for your kids. What are you doing? And then on top of this, I'm like, you got a whole son. How are you taking care of one of your kids? Which I can't even say for sure if he's doing that. But I know he's seeing him every day on a daily basis. But you're not taking care of your other two kids. That's like ridiculous. And I have to literally beg this boy to like come and see his kids. Then he would come see the kids, and it would be for like an hour, or a couple times he saw them, it was for like 20 minutes. I'm like, what? Like, what are you even, what's the point of you even coming at this point? You're not even spending time with them. And I remember one day he actually was like, okay, I took the day, I'm gonna spend some time with the kids. This boy came over and slept. Was asleep. My kids looking at him like, who is this nigga? Like, I'm talking about laid out sleep. Okay? Knocked out. Would not get up. I'm like, look, you don't help any other day. You don't get up at night. You don't do bottles. And you know, when newborns, they getting up every 2-3 hours. I'm like, you sleep. You get all your rest. You got all, if you're not resting, that's your own personal issue. I have nothing to do with that. But as far as our kids go, there's no reason why you should be this tired. And you ain't making no money. So I'm like, why are you so tired? I was like, genuinely, and I hate to sound like a bitch, but I'm like genuinely confused. Why are you so tired, sir? Why? And so he came over for like 6 hours one day. I'm talking about slept like 4 hours. 4 hours. Slept. So after that, I'm like, whatever. So I remember my aunt and my mom kept telling me, when you're done, you'll just wake up one day and you'll be done. So I kept saying like, okay. So, because at that point, like, I still cared about him, and I kept trying to, like, make things work, because I've always wanted my kids to grow up in a 2-parent home with their mom and their dad. So, I've always tried, I felt like, to make it work, even if I didn't feel deep down in my heart that we were meant to be together. I just tried. I was like, look, I love you, because we still cared about each other. We still loved each other. So, I'm like, let's just try and make things work. But he wanted to go back with his son's mom. And I'm like, that's all fine and dandy. Take care of your kids at least. But you're not even doing that. So it was just a lot going on emotionally. And I felt like at that point, I was just an emotional wreck, because it's just like, I got 2 newborn babies. I'm going through postpartum. I'm broke. I lost everything I had, like everything. So at this point, I'm just trying to figure out, like, what has happened to my life. Like, what has happened? And some days, I'm still trying to figure that out. And I feel like it's getting better each day, but it's still a lot. To know how you lived on a daily basis versus, like, now is just a lot. So, like, this boy does not help me at all. I'm talking about, I am a single mom. for real. And I did not plan on being a single mom. I mean, I guess no one really plans on being a single mom, but I really never, you couldn't have paid me to believe that he would be of so little help. Like, I thought even if he wasn't bringing in stacks and stacks and stacks, I thought at least he was gonna be a helping hand. At the bare minimum, you gonna be a helping hand. This boy don't change no diapers, doesn't get up at night, nothing. He hasn't seen my kid in 2 months. 2 whole months he has not seen my kids. Has not given a dime in 2 months. I think the entire time. Okay, so after I was pregnant, I remember at one point he gave me like $60, and I tried not to be a bitch about it, but I'm like, the fuck is $60 gonna do? Like, we got 2 newborn babies. The fuck is $60? So I think my entire, then at one point he started acting like he was stepping up, so he gave me $100. Then I think 2 days later he gave me $250. So I'm thinking like, okay, he back, because I feel like you're not helping, you're not there. I'm taking care of our kids by ourselves. The least you can do is pay the person that's helping me, like, pay her what I have to pay her each week, so that I'm not stressed out about paying her, paying bills, taking care of the kids. I'm doing everything by myself. So I'm like, okay, cool, he gonna step up. So y'all, that's all he gave me. Since while I was pregnant, he gave me $100. The entire pregnancy, $100. After I had my kids, after he got out of jail, he gave me $60. Then he gave me $100. Then like $250. This boy has not given me more than $500 for 2 kids, and my kids are 6 months old. So I say all this to say that you cannot depend on anyone. And sometimes, like, you end up in a position where you don't even plan on depending on someone. It just happens. So I'm relying on somebody. Like, I'm pretty much sick. Like, I can't work. Then I end up being on bed rest for 2 months. Like, I had no way that I could really physically work. But I will say the good part about all of this is, like, it really gave me insight into how I want to run my business from now on. Like, I want to get to a point where it's not so reliant on me, so that if something does happen, I can step away. And I'm talking about, I felt so bad about this. I got people DMing me like, oh, your goals, I want to be a boss. I'm like, bitch, I'm not even a boss right now. Like, I'm not even goals to my damn self, so I don't need to be goals to nobody else. Like, I'm on the struggle bus right now, not some fucking goals. So I was really, 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 really down. And then I'm feeling more down because I'm like, I teach classes and stuff, so I've trained people who have I have so many students who have their own businesses. So to see that you, like, accomplish so much and let it all go away, and then I felt disappointed in myself. I felt like, I disappointed my mom. I just felt like really, really down about everything. And I still do sometimes, and it's just a journey to kind of like move forward, because I know at the end of the day, I do want what's best for my kids. So back to what I had said before, when my mom and my aunt was like, you'll wake up one day and you'll just be done. So my uncle passed away, so I had to go to Florida for a week. He saw the kids right before I went to Florida, and saw them for 10 minutes. Sometimes 10 minutes and was like, I gotta go to work. So I'm like, whatever. So when I went away, I had told him, okay, I need you to pay her for this week, because it's not her fault that I have to leave and go to Florida. So I'm like, I need you to pay her for this week. So he's like, okay, cool. So while I'm in Florida, I'm like having to chase this nigga down for this money. And it's not even a lot of money. Like, not even a lot of money. So I'm like having to chase him down for this money. He's like, oh, I'm gonna send it tomorrow. Then tomorrow come, I'm gonna send it on Thursday. Thursday come, I'm gonna send it on Monday. It got to the point where I thought this nigga was making up days, like adding days to the week, okay, because this money was not coming. So I got so frustrated. I even got to the point where I went back home. And so that was my last text I ever sent him, because I'm like, I'm not going to beg anybody to take care of their kids. I'm tired of begging you to see your kids. I'm tired of begging you to reach out. So I had sent him so many messages back to back to back, and he had got to the point where he was ignoring me because I don't know if because he didn't have the money. But to me, I don't even see how you could just not check on your kids, not even say, do y'all need anything, are y'all okay, or look, I don't have this money, but how can I physically help, something. But I'm talking about I was getting nothing. So I had got no response. I'm talking about no response. So I was like, God, this the last time that I'm reaching out to him. I was like, I'm never saying nothing else to him again. Like, I'm never going to stop you from seeing your kids, but I'm not going to beg you to be a father. That's not the life that I want to live. And I feel like you have to be really clear on the life that you want to live, and anything that's not that, do not participate in it. So I was like, I don't want to be a baby mama that's chasing somebody to take care of their kids. Hold on, y'all. Baby's crying. Now I have Legend with me because he was crying and he wants my attention. Excuse his hair. He has some little braids. It was supposed to be like a little man bun. His hair is growing, but he has some little braids going to the top, but they don't really stay because his hair is not that long. But like I was saying, let go. I was saying, yeah, I'm not going to beg someone to take care of their child. If you don't want to take care of your child, I feel like that's between you and God. So I probably blocked him for 5 days, and then I was just like, because I just needed a mental break just to kind of clear my mind. Then after that, he's been unblocked. I'm talking about he don't check on his kids. He don't ask if we need anything. Let go. But, you know, it's no hard feelings. I'm cool. I could do this by myself. I know God got me. And I'm not really going to spend my energy on negativity. And I'm not going to spend my energy begging somebody to do what they know they need to do. So, anyways, I'm going to start doing more like little story time videos because I feel like I got some stories that I could share. I'm just not that open on social media, but I do know I'm going to document being a mom, and I also want to document like my weight loss journey because this weight has got to go. But baby weight is something serious. I feel like that sticks to you a little bit more, and I'm trying to get rid of it. But yeah, so I'm going to document that journey. I'm going to document just being a mom, business journey, everything. But one thing I guarantee you, so my phone died and I had to feed the kids and get them changed and all that. But anyways, like I was saying, I'm not gonna beg anyone to be a father. I feel like that's a personal decision, and I'm not your mom, so that's something he has to figure out, and that'll be his relationship with his kids. But I feel like I'm going to always take care of my kids regardless, no matter what I have to do. So yeah, I pretty much am going to be documenting my journey of building my business back up to where it was, and actually greater than what it was. I already speak that into existence. But if you guys have any topics you want to discuss, just let me know. I'm going to try and be more personal with you guys. And I actually reached out to Ming. She's my mentor, and I just wanted her advice on, you know, what I should do. And she was the one who gave me the advice on actually making this video and sharing more with you guys, and documenting me building everything back up again. So I really appreciate and love her as a friend and a mentor, you know, for giving me that advice and helping me out during this time. You know, because sometimes when you're in a really bad place, just really good advice can help you get back on your feet. Because sometimes you just lose all motivation and you just feel really, really down. And I know a lot of other people have probably dealt with postpartum and depression, but it's something that can be really hard to pull yourself out of. So I appreciate having strong people and people with good advice, my friends, my family, that can help me out during this time. So yeah, I'm gonna be sharing more with you guys, and letting you guys into this part of my life instead of just makeup and hair. And I'm also going to try and get better with the tutorials, like hair tutorials and makeup tutorials, but I also want to share my personal life with you guys a little bit more. So if you guys have any specific topics or story times that you want to hear, just leave them in the comments below or on Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel because I'm going to be updating everything here. And also like this video. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope that, you know, my story is relatable or helps someone else. But I will talk to you guys later. Bye.